Thank, thanks, Sam. That was a very kind introduction. And I'm sorry I missed that first part of I really enjoyed the end of your presentation. And I wanted to say I love the new logo before I get started. I didn't know y'all had rebranded and it looks great. It looks like a great group here today too. And I want to say, I'm going to give a quick and dirty sort of overview with a little bit of a focus at Sam's request on the health, on really food related funding in the city budget and particularly through the lens of the health department. But I have kind of tried to capture where other departments also are focused on food and the resources that they have to the best of my knowledge. So let me just share screen real quick. Nope. I think you have to stop. There we go. Okay. Here we go. Can y'all see that? Okay. It's not particularly beautiful. I need to switch that. There we go. Okay. And I'll get to the sort of process at the end. So I'm going to share some numbers and I tried to depict them sort of visually to start. And I'm also going to kind of share a little bit of context or kind of where we are right now in terms of the budget for this year and next. So the big pie chart on the left shows this total city budget for this year. So we have about, and I'm kind of going to give round numbers too, because I'm just going to keep it simple. So this total city budget, all sources, is about $2 billion. The general fund, which is basically what the city collects from us, from residents and property taxes and sales taxes, that they're able to kind of use more with discretion, is about $816 million. So just under half of the total city budget is general funds. And the other sources are really big federal dollars, thinking about transportation projects and other sort of large dollar items that come in from the federal government and elsewhere. So of the roughly $800 million in general funds, the health department, this is the slightly smaller pie chart, gets $13 million as of this year. And that's actually a bit of an increase. We usually hovered closer to 11 million. So this tiny little orange slice right here is the health department allocation out of the total general fund. So it rounded up to 2%. I couldn't get it to go to a tenth place, but we're actually at about 1.7% of all general funds are coming to the health department. Our budget is not $13 million though. Our budget is actually closer to 70 million, 68 roughly. And so here's that $13 million general funds, this light blue portion. 3/4 of our budget is federal funds, which is a concern right now. And then we've got some special funds like opioid settlement dollars and things that are sort of tagged for specific purposes. And then we've got some state and foundation grants that are about $2 million. So bulk of our funding is federal funding. About 2/3 of our positions at the health department are federally funded. And then we've got this about 13 million in general funds. And this is I just want to highlight again that the general funds are usually what people are talking about in terms of budget advocacy. And so that's now we're kind of to zoom in on food within NOHD. I listed out what I could think of that are sort of food focused resources and positions. And so the first two are two positions that we have on staff here. That's a food access specialist position, which Luke currently holds. That's grant funded, initially funded by a grant from FPAC. So thank you for getting that position started. And we're transitioning it over to a slightly longer term CDC grant that we hope will continue into perpetuity, but always a question mark, especially these days. And then we have a chronic disease policy specialist position that's also funded by a different federal grant. And then outside of positions, we have some healthy food delivery programs that are public, that are also funded by grants, public and private, and our ARPA food access projects. We were allocated $1 million in ARPA funds a few years ago that we granted out to 4 local organizations, I think probably almost all of which are on this call, those projects are scheduled to end, or the funding for those projects are scheduled to end at the end of 2026. So that's sort of what we have here at the health department. If I had to put sort of a dollar figure on that, we've got the $1 million for ARPA. We've got about, I would say, $150,000 in healthy food delivery programs, and then probably about 100,000 per position. So right around probably $1.5 million in funding that's sort of allocated and dedicated toward food focused projects. And all of them are grant funded, and the ARPA in particular are sort of like, the end is on the horizon. Then I just wanted to note for my fellow city departments, we've got the Office of Resilience and Sustainability. FPAC advocated very effectively a couple of years ago for the Urban Agricultural Liaison position, which is Grace, who is doing amazing work within ORS. I believe that's I didn't want to put the source of funding because I'm not always 100% sure, but I believe that's a general fund position. So that again that is a more secure source of funding going forward. And then with some caveats. And then the Office of Economic Development also has some food related resources. They've been the lead on the healthy food financing initiatives of past and hopefully of the future. That's usually done in the past. It was done with Katrina recovery dollars. They've got some funding right now that I believe is getting pushed into next year to revamp and kind of restart a smaller, more tailored healthy food financing initiative. That's kind of gotten caught up in the budget challenges of this year. And then they do have some food business incubation resources. I don't have a lot of detail on that. And I think those are often sort of project-based and grant funded as well. So I'm sure I've missed something in the city. Obviously, safety and permits does a lot of work on food business permitting, but nothing specific for food that I'm familiar with. And so that's sort of the lay of the land in terms of the city budget as it relates to food. I want to go back to my first slide though on this 816 million in general funds that was sort of projected for this year. When they made the budget last year, they projected this amount. That has been they haven't realized as much of those funds as they anticipated. So that number has actually been dropped down as of the end of last month to 745 million for this year for 2025. So that's where we're seeing the headlines of cities facing a deficit for this budget year because the revenue didn't come in as projected. For next year, so the numbers keep in mind are, it's been revised down from 816 to 745, 2025, revised down again. The projection for next year is 732 million as of the last meeting of the forecasters. So that just gives you a sense. This pie, this $816 million pie is shrinking. And so that, gives us some concern about what happens to our 2%, although we would hope it be applied sort of equally across departments, meaning because we have such a small share, our cut would also be fairly small. But we just don't know how the cuts will be applied for this year and for next year as that pie continues to shrink. And so what we're in the position of doing at the health department is really prioritizing our existing programs. So there's lots of things that we talk about internally, that we talk about with advocates and community-based orgs like yourselves, about things that we know the community needs that we just can't ask for right now because the pie is shrinking, and we want to protect that very small list of things that we do have and try to even move some of them into the general fund budget. I'll say, those ARPA funded projects, many of which have been very successful, they're really addressing food and nutrition insecurity. We would love to try to talk to the council members and the future administration about making those general fund programs. But as those pies shrink, it's just harder and harder to even hold on to what we currently have. And even in making the food access specialist position and the chronic disease policy specialist position general funds, that would be ideal. But it's just challenging with the shrinking general fund. So I've kind of touched on this. How do we decide on our budget priorities? And I think this is probably true of most departments. We preserve, number one, what we have and try to stretch that. We do our CHA and CHIP process. So we do a community health assessment. We're actually starting that process very soon. We're doing a soft launch this afternoon for those of you who are part of the CHA CHIP meetings, to start collecting information from the community about what are your barriers and challenges to health. And food was one that we heard the last cycle 5 years ago, which is why we had a food access working group, and why we've dedicated more resources to food in the last 5 years. And then we have to keep in mind the requirements and then new needs identified by internal staff or external partners, which I just mentioned. The last thing I'll say, kind of where are we and, in the budget process, and kind of how do you get involved? So we're on a calendar year budget cycle here, which makes it really easy to remember. And this is sort of the steps in the process, and the star is sort of where we are today. So the departments have developed their internal budgets and their requests and proposed those to the administration. The administration, which is the CAO and the finance department, are reviewing all of that and coming up with the mayor's budget in collaboration with the mayor. The mayor is required to submit her budget to the city council by October 1st, which is coming up fairly soon. So the mayor will be down in council. I'm not sure if the date of her presentation has been scheduled yet. It'll be late September. Will present her budget to the council, and then the council will hold hearings. They usually do a group of departments every day in mid to late October, where they'll be pulling us in front of the council to explain what we did this year, what we want for what we're going to do next year, why we need the amount of money we need, and let them ask us questions. And they also give the public a chance to weigh in at those hearings. So you can go and weigh in on ORS's budget, our budget, economic development, Office of Youth and Families, whoever. You could just keep an eye on the calendar. You can show up and offer public comment on why you support that department's existing budget, what additional items you think are needed, etc. And so that's an opportunity for the public to weigh in. The council also, I assume, right now and through the month of October, will be having lots of meetings with advocates and community-based groups behind, in their offices before those public hearings, to try to understand what the community would like to see change from the administration's budget to the time that the budget is formally adopted on December 1st. And then so that's another opportunity to weigh in with council members by meeting with their offices and presenting those requests or opinions to them directly. And then, like I said, budget is adopted formally by December 1st and becomes effective January 1st. I will stop.
Thanks, Jeannie. Does anyone have any questions about what Jeannie has presented before I kind of jump into a few more resources around the budget? I think that was like a really helpful overview. Just by a show of hands, can you just share, is this the first time that you've heard about this process? Yeah, wasn't that long ago that I had also learned. I'm trying. Here we go. Trying to see all you. Okay, cool. So oh yes, Madeline. Oh, was that just you raising your hand? Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. So if you'd like a sort of breakdown, a little bit more of a breakdown of the budget, I recommend the Committee for a Better New Orleans guide. Nellie often is doing presentations about the budget and provides actually a really good in-depth overview of what happens and the process. I want to just quickly share one of the resources that she has, which is sort of like a breakdown of the actual budget, as you can see here. And this is for the general fund. As you can see here, a good portion, a really large portion is going to police, courts, and criminal legal system. And then you can see health down here, then economic development, and then housing. So, this sort of provides a picture of where our priorities are as a city. And I think by understanding this process and learning about this process, we can better advocate for what we want out of out of our city budget. And so I recommend that you all play around with it. Nellie has done this like there's the interactive mode is just so incredible, and she works really hard to ensure that it's legible and understandable to you all. So please take a look at that. Um, and then any other questions? I just want to make sure that folks really understand the budget process. And so, from the New Orleans Food Policy Council side, we have been participating in budget advocacy through the Big Easy Budget Coalition. Um, they are a coalition of organizations across fields who spend time throughout the year to discuss sort of budget priorities. But then around the summer, we get really sort of like we really ramp up and start doing a lot more work around budget advocacy, creating talking points and education around what the budget should look like. There's a lot of surveying and reaching out to folks in the community to give feedback on the Big Easy deal. And so if you are interested in your organization joining, I highly recommend that you do through via the food system. FPAC has been acting in that role, and for the past 2 years now, I think more actively this past year. We were pretty passive last year. And so my hope moving in the future is that as we enter the summer, I'm bringing more people into the process to sort of like one, learn about what the budget process is in general, but two, what we should be asking for as a food system within the budget. Um, as you saw, the food really lives at NOHD for the most part, or the majority of it lives at NOHD. Given that we are a food city, I don't think that that necessarily has to be the case. But I am looking toward the innovative minds such as yourselves to kind of inform me of like what's possible and where we should be living and what they should be doing at each of the departments and how we can ensure that they get what they need to do that. So if that is of interest to you, feel free to drop your name in the chat or email me directly, and I will be sure to reach out to you when that happens. I will be much better now that I understand the process. I will be sure to like cast a net more widely in informing that process. But I just wanted to let you know that that has already been done this round. Cool. And so we have now entered into our community announcements. I will ask that our working groups start first, and then if anyone would like to share any information related to the food system or even adjacent to it, you think this group would enjoy it, please go ahead and share.
Is it all right if
Luke,
I hop in, Sam? Yeah, so
please.
thank you for that overview. That was really informative, and I love that graphic that CBNO or Big Easy Budget Coalition, whichever one, put together. It's really cool to check out. But I just wanted to give a quick plug for the Food Access Working Group's next meeting, and just joining our group more generally. I know a lot of y'all have been to the meetings previously already, so y'all know who you are, but always looking to expand our reach and pull in more members from the food system and from food security, food access spaces. And recently, we've really been focusing in on disaster preparedness and trying to find ways to organize community resources and food following disasters. So if that sounds like something that y'all would be interested in, you can reach out to me and I'll add you to the mailing list. Our next meeting is going to be this upcoming Wednesday, which is the 17th at 1 p.m. at the Nora Navra Library. And then also just to add on to that, Jess is my co-facilitator for the group, so you can also reach out to her.
Thanks, Luke. Anyone else? Yes, Grace, go for it.
Oh yeah, I wasn't sure if there are other FPAC working groups, but if not, I'll jump in real quick. Yes, just wanted to share that the next urban agriculture working group, which will also be co-hosting with GNOGA or the Greater New Orleans Growers Alliance, will have our next quarterly meeting Sunday, September 21st. I can drop the flyer in the chat, I think. Yeah. And also, if you have any questions or want any other info, you can email me. The easiest email to remember is just urbanag@nola.gov. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Bryn?
Yes, I want to let everyone know that our annual Garden to Glass cocktail competition is happening Wednesday, September 24th. We partner with the National World War II Museum on that. This year, the theme is Cheers to Victory to coincide with their VJ Day celebrations during the month of September. So I encourage everyone to come out. It's a really fun time. It's an event that we've been co-hosting with the museum since 2010. There's local distillers that compete for the most unique and most local cocktails. So also in the ticketing link, if you select that you're an Eat Local challenger, you get a $5 discount. We also have designated driver tickets available. So that's a cheaper ticket, but you get free parking for those that do not partake in drinking, but would love to come out to the event itself. So I hope to see all of you there.
Awesome. Thank you. And then, yes, Margie, please. I was going to jump in on that, but please.
I think Dimitri is before me.
Oh, sorry, Dimitri, go for it.
You're good, thank you. Hi y'all. For those that don't know me, I'm Dimitri. I'm the program director at Recirculating Farms. My first announcement is if anyone here has any veterans in their community that are interested in agriculture, we are having our Veterans Ag Training Program still going on. We're going to be starting classes up again in the fall, working with Bastion Community of Resilience in Gentilly, the VA and the VFW, and we're going to be having some classes on site specifically for vets. And yeah, reach out to me on that. My second is in the capacity of me as a organizer with the Greater New Orleans Growers Alliance. I just want to bump and second what Grace said about our meeting that's upcoming next Sunday. The first is going to be our quarterly meeting. The second will be the Urban Ag Working Group. If anyone would like to be added to the listserv, please reach out to me and I could put you on there. And we are currently updating, or we're currently trying to update our map and our website. So if anyone wants their orgs on our map, let us know. If anyone wants to help me figure out how to use WordPress, you can also let me know too, because I'm going to be figuring that out in the next couple of weeks. Thank you.
Thanks, Dimitri. Margie, statewide.
I actually was stacking in for seafood and I want to quickly see, Bryn, were you going to do that? I just noticed that we didn't have a chair and I know you're the liaison, but I'm happy to add LCN stuff.
Yeah, sure, you can go ahead.
Okay, great. Bryn will have more to add after this probably, but no pressure. The one thing I was gonna say about Seafood Working Group, which is just such an active working group and it like meets all summer and it's a really amazing working group, is that we have an in-person working group meeting, which will be the first iteration of statewide working group meeting at the local Catch Network Summit, which is going to be in Gulf Shores, Alabama in November 9th through 11th. Strangely, Veterans Day, but come eat a lot of local seafood on Veterans Day. And yeah, it's going to be an awesome conference with people from all over the country who do local and sustainable seafood work coming together for a ton of panels. There are a lot of golf panels happening there. And then we'll be coming on the 11th to a field trip in New Orleans, where we'll actually be going down to Lance Nacio's, Anna Maria Seafood, with some folks from across the country and having a seafood dinner at Nikeo with Dana Hahn. And so Louisiana FPAC's role in that is just thinking about key policymakers that we want to invite into those spaces to hear from our fishing community and our processing community. So just if you want to get involved in the seafood working group, I would really encourage that you do. And one of the ways to do that might be by convincing your workplace that you have to come to Gulf Shores with us on November 9th. And if you need me to send an email that's like, I need you there, I will. I'm your girl. Just shoot me a text on my personal cell and I'll write a letter to your boss. All right, that's it for me. Bryn, do you want to add anything about seafood?
I also just want to plug Shrimp Festival is going to be October 18th and 19th, the Saturday and Sunday. It might be 17th and 18th. I'm pretty sure it's 18th and 19th. I just dropped the link in there as well, and that's going to be a lot of the same key partners that Margie mentioned. It's going to be like a little appetizer of Local Catch Network. Local Catch Network has been trying to establish a presence in the South. So we are looking to make that connection and make a name for ourselves and have a presence with their work, which a lot of it takes place, in like San Diego and Chesapeake Bay. So we're looking to plug in and have a voice at the table.
Awesome. And then I think there was someone else who had an announcement. Tina?
Hey,
Taina.
it's Ty. You can call me Ty. Yeah, Taina.
Taina. Sorry about that.
Hey. Basically I'm director and founder of Cultivating Culture. I'm located on the North Shore. I'm always doing stuff and which is, I'm here in the NOLA food policy because here on the North Shore they don't have anything like this, like anything at all. So that's why I'm trying to just go ahead and, listen and help out as much as I can over there. So that way I could bring these, all of this good stuff over here on the North Shore, period. And I was just wanting to let everybody know that we have our own program going on in St. Tammany Parish. Slidell is basically between Slidell and Lacombe. It's like it has the highest poverty rate. And I basically created a program called Grow on the Go, where, we're looking for sponsors and, we're fundraising so we could place tote gardens in people's homes, whether they rent, for apartments or anything like that. It's basically like just a way for people to have the access to that food, teaching people how to fish, besides providing them with the food that we provide from our food fridge that we have at our office. So yeah, I just wanted to tell people about that, and I'll put the link and everything in the chat. And yeah, thank you for everyone because I had learned so much. Because like I said, I'm trying to literally do this stuff like from ground up over here. So yeah, that's it.
Yes, welcome and thank you for coming to join us. We are excited to help you.
Thank you so much.
All right. Anyone else have any other announcements? All right, y'all. Our next general meeting will actually be in person. It is in collaboration with the Tulane Department of Nutrition. We've got Megan Harrington and I think I saw Melissa. Yeah, and Melissa Fooster from Tulane are part of that department, and we're excited to be working with them for that. So we get to see each other in person, and so I'm really excited. With that, I know there were some questions around if we will get an email for this. So all of this will live in our newsletter for sure. And if I'm diligent enough, I will send a follow-up email, but it will for sure be in our upcoming newsletter. So, but if you need details sooner than that, feel free, please do not hesitate to reach out to me and I will be sure to get you that information. But until then, I will see you next time. Oh, yes. And that next meeting is November 11th, if I remember, or 13th. Megan, do you remember?
13th.
Thank
Thursday.
you.
You're welcome.
November 13th. Location TBD. But we are starting at about like a soft 10:30 and then going into a few hours of gathering. Food will be provided. Awesome. Well, I will stay behind in case anyone has any questions or wants to chat, but goodbye. Thank you.
I'm gonna stay with you just for funsies.
Oh, yay.